Multimedia in education. So in this topic, we're going to discuss the definition of multimedia. We're going to discuss about the forms of multimedia interactivity to learners, the uses of multimedia in education, and of course, some advantages and disadvantages of multimedia in education. So first, what is multimedia? Multimedia simply is just a combination of text, graphics, animation, video, and of course, sound. It is the concept of multimedia, different characteristics, like the combined use of several media, such as movies, slides, music, and lighting, especially for the purpose of education and entertainment. Multimedia in its interactivity to learners has several forms. First, we have the reactive interaction and proactive interaction, and of course, the mutual interaction. One of the most crucial characteristics is the interactivity of multimedia products used. Learners in reactive interaction gives responses to a presented stimulus. Proactive interaction, by far, learners control the program. They make decisions on the order of tasks or where to navigate within the application. And of course, in mutual interaction, the learners and of course the program under the multimedia are able to adapt to each other. This forms different terms of user control at the reactive level. The producer, the designer, has total control over the content, its presentation, the sequences, and practical assignments. At the proactive and mutual levels, there is more flexibility for the user. According to Riemann, interactivity contains a broad range of possibilities for influencing the process of learning and the content of the studies. The uses of multimedia in education. First, multimedia in education has a construction into knowledge or knowledge construction. Construction of meaningful and understood knowledge. This means the development of a well-structured disciplinary, interdisciplinary, and daily life-oriented system of flexible and usable competencies, abilities, skills, and content knowledge. How to transfer meaningful and understood knowledge into applicable knowledge. This important competence enables students to be expert of their own learning processes. Consequently, reflection and metacognition of learning processes support the construction of meaningful and understood knowledge as well as applicable knowledge. The concept of learning to learn means to find out and to apply specific successful ways and strategies in every subject. One aim is to increase the student's knowledge about the idea of learning in itself and about his or her own memory. Of course, the uses of multimedia, one of those is into learning. Many definitions of learning take into account the realization of these learning opportunities and the development of process and understanding, the capacity, of course, and disposition. According to Alan Schoenfeld, year 1999, one has learned when one has developed new understanding or capacity. Some aspects are decisive for this development of new understanding and or capacity. According to current learning theories, some important learner aspects are: number one, the capacities and abilities. Of course, it talks about the physiological and intellectual prerequisites, previous knowledge, and concerning about the topic. Next is the interests, learning strategies. Of course, this includes also the metacognitions, conceptions of learning, motivation, emotions, attitudes, concerning the content to be learned, social competencies, and many more. Most concepts of learning agree that two factors are essential to learning. First, the social contacts and relationships to people, learning objects, and the environment, of course. Social contacts and relationships to people, like in the family members, classmates, teachers, friends, in the communities of practice, communities of communication and cooperation. And other one is the learning objects, the learning materials, books, videos, tapes, and multimedia products, physical objects and artifacts, and virtual learning spaces. Also, of course, the environment has an effect to the learning procedure. The environment in which learning takes place influences the learning. This includes the structure, conditions, and access to the environment itself. The society, libraries, media resource centers, computer labs, nature, cities, or countryside. In this sense, multimedia applications can be used as one out of many learning environments that are suited to be used in different learning situations. The advantages of multimedia. The provision of interaction. The provision of interaction is the biggest advantage of digital media in the comparison with other media. It refers to the process of providing information and response. Interactivity allows control over the presented content to a certain extent. Learner can change parameters, observe the results, or respond to choice options. They can also control the speed of applications and the amount of repetition to meet their individual needs. Multimedia also offers variety of media, usually combined in a meaningful manner. This gives an opportunity to use the computer for the presentation of ideas in different ways. Multimedia also supports attractions. Presentations supported by attractive images or animations are visually more appealing than static text, and they can support the appearance of emotions to complement the information presented. Multimedia can appeal to many types of learning preferences. Some students profit more from learning by reading, some by hearing, and some by watching. Of course, multimedia facilitates different ways of learning. The use of multimedia allows for different ways of working. Their ways of learning can decide on their own how to explore the materials as well as how to use the interactive and collaborative tools. Moreover, students can adjust their own learning processes according to their, of course, abilities and their own preferences. Multimedia helps students also with special needs. Like, for example, the dyslexic students can use synthetic speech in order to become familiar with the content of digital text. The autistic children shows an increase of phonologic awareness and word reading by using multimedia. Students with severe speech and physical impairments gain from learning with multimedia because the computer is flexible enough to meet individual needs. For deaf students, on the other hand, their visual presentation of content improves their motivation to learn. Some of the disadvantages of multimedia is self-regulated learning, distraction, low interactivity, and many more. Self-regulated learning. Some learners are not able to handle the freedom provided by hypertext-based multimedia. And of course, some students are distracted. Often, confused presentations of the material can cause distraction due to conflicting messages. Low interactivity. Even though the interactivity between the learner and multimedia applications is increasing, it is still considered restricted compared to the elaborated human-to-human interactivity. No selective feedback. Feedback is generally very limited within computer-assisted learning packages. Generally, computers cannot substitute for the person-to-person teaching. Simulations are often not enough. It may be important for students to have true hands-on experience. For example, we're studying insects in biology, it's necessary to go out in nature, right? Lack of skills. Course that includes the pupils and the teachers. Students, particularly mature age students, may not be ICT literate, and also the teacher. It is difficult to do. Of course, creating audio, video, and graphical materials can be more challenging than creating ordinary texts. It is also time-consuming. Using multimedia can be time-consuming, especially the production of multimedia takes much time. The access. Not all the students can have access in multimedia. The social inclusion or exclusion. Not all members of a society can be involved in the use of multimedia technology due to lack of access to the internet or lack of hardware to make full use of educational material on the web. Equipment problems. Hardware and software needs to be configured in a way that their usage is as simple as straightforward as possible. The bandwidth issue. What's this? Limited bandwidth means slow performance for sound, graphics, and video. That's an interruption for learning. Multimedia is portable. Paper-based notes can be read everywhere, on the bus, on the beach, or anywhere. But web-based materials or multimedia materials require specific hardware devices. The computer screens aren't paper. The content on the screens may not be as easy to read as the content in the paper. There are large chunks of information that need to be read from top to bottom. It is probably best to view such a document on a paper. Books and journal articles may still be better to read in paper. Of course, multimedia products can be used to represent the process various types of knowledge. It can be used as means of presentation and communication of knowledge. It can foster students' construction of their own knowledge, can construct knowledge and develop skills related to the various subjects of accessing or producing digital representations of knowledge, can develop literacy and other core competency. That is the multimedia in education.